Hi, I'm Marge Kinney, and welcome back. By the way, thank you very much for all of your emails and your comments. It makes it a lot more interesting for me to know that you like what you're seeing. Today, it seems that a lot of questions are asked of many people as to what do they do when they start painting. So that's what we're going to cover in this tutorial. So enjoy. To start, you could say, what colors do I need? These are the colors that I use in my palette. From time to time, I will use just a red, which would be a permanent rose, and a cad yellow, and a cerulean blue, or a Prussian blue if I was just using 3 colors, and titanium white. However, this is my normal palette. I find it's very, very easy to use, and it covers all bases. So let's start out with alizarin crimson. It's a deeper color, and if you'll notice, to the one side I have, if I've added a little bit of black, and the other side is with a little bit of white. This is naphtha crimson or cadmium red light. There's cadmium orange hue, cadmium yellow light. Now when you add black to cad yellow light, look what happens. It turns green. Isn't that interesting? Or orange. When you add black to it, it turns quite dark, almost a brown. All right, here's yellow ochre. Again, it makes a deeper green, and some people like that as a deep olive green. Yellow ochre. Naples yellow, if you notice when it's white, it gives you the sunshine and the top of clouds. And the black, again, is a very pale green. Now, viridian or phthalo green is a wonderful color for the ocean shoreline as it gets close to shore, or if you have black, it's the deeper end of the ocean, or if I mix this with the alizarin crimson, I will get a beautiful deep dark green for bushes. Sap green or deep green is also very valuable for landscapes. Now, cerulean blue is a very friendly color for the skies. Here it shows with a little bit of black to it. And if you notice the light color, you can have some of this in your clouds when you can add it with even more white. But it's a wonderful, happy blue. All right, this is ultramarine blue. And when you mix ultramarine with black, it gets very deep. And when you're looking for a dark ocean, it's particularly good. Or a dark underneath a floral, you can use some of the ultramarine blue with acro magenta or quinacridone magenta, and it's excellent. Now this is raw sienna. It works very nicely with a beach, and this has a little bit of white in it. Makes a very nice beach. Burnt sienna is a very popular color. If I mix burnt sienna with ultramarine blue, I will get a beautiful gray-blue ocean. Now burnt umber is a wonderful color to have on hand for the trunks of trees. And if you're looking for an artist black, as you'll notice, I have no blacks. Well, I beg your pardon, I do have a black showing what happens if you add black. But if you add burnt umber to ultramarine blue, it will make an intense artist black that's far richer than a regular black. And then finally, we have neutral gray, which is available in the tube, and that neutralizes particularly in the distance colors, and then there's black. Now, these colors here happen to be acrylics, and acrylics dry dull. So when I finish a painting, I will use one of 2 kinds of varnish. I can get this at my local Home Depot or home improvement store. Now this is a gloss, crystal clear, but it seems to make it extra shiny, and I really don't prefer gloss. I prefer using a polyurethane semi-gloss, and oil base seems to be just a slight amount of gloss, but not a whole lot. All right, the other product that I use is this gloss medium and varnish, and this I use when I want to soften a color in the distance. So now we'll begin with brushes. All right, I like to use my favorite brush of all times, what I use for most of my paintings, is this little filbert. A filbert brush is one that looks like a cat's paw, and they come in various sizes. Here it is a little larger, and here it is a little smaller. The other brush I most commonly use is called a flat. And a flat is a long brush with a flat surface. Now, if it's a shorter brush like this, it is called a bright. So I tend to use flats more than brights. And then you need a small brush too. Now the fan brushes come in different sizes. And what these are good for are evergreen trees or waterfalls and sometimes grass. All right, let's go on again. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is to see how we're going to paint a painting. So we have to decide on what we're going to paint. If you're starting with a 9x12 canvas, which this is one way of taking your photograph and you can enlarge it on your computer to an 8x10 or take it to your local store and have them enlarge it to an 8x10. Now I've printed this out as an 8x10 piece and I've put a piece of carbon paper behind it, just like this. Then I take a pencil and notice I didn't try to put everything that was in the photo, I just put simple lines. So now I take a pencil and mark all of the edges of the picture. This has an S for sand, just to remind me, and this is water, which is the white water coming in from the ocean. And this area here, I don't try to draw every flower, I just write flowers in there so I remember what it's going to be. Now when I'm through with that, it looks like this. So it gives me a very good guideline. I can see I missed one line here, which would be the edge of the home. Okay. All right, so with that started like that, then I would continue on with my painting. And it already gives me a good guideline so I don't make any mistakes. All right, to the end of that, here is a finished painting. And it shows that I use cerulean blue with white for the sky. Then I used a little ultramarine and cerulean blue and white for the ocean. And the ocean in the back has very tiny little waves, so you really don't see them. And as it comes closer, the waves get larger because it's called perspective. All right, so I am using ultramarine blue, and then as I get closer, I use some of the Viridian. Remember, that was the color here. It had the light green, and it gets lighter because the water is not so deep. So as it rushes over the rocks and the sand, it becomes lighter. There's also white on the very edge of the water, which is just the last part of the wave as the foam goes back to the ocean. All right, the color of the sand is raw sienna and yellow ochre with some white. Also, if I put a little bit of deep blue and red, or if I'm using a little violet, then it makes a beautiful sand color. The sand is darker next to the ocean. Can you figure out why? It's because it's wet. And then closer into the land, it's lighter, naturally, because it's dry. If you notice how easy these little sailboats are to do, you start out with a smaller brush and you make the point at the top and press in to make it wider at the bottom with a little line. The other one is smaller yet with a little line. When we make our small waves, we make the white with a little bit of dark underneath. All right, that more or less takes care of how to start a painting if we're using a carbon. However, if we were going to use this same picture and we were going to do it just by looking at the picture, I would figure out where the center is, and I would make a line here, and then I would make a line here, and here, 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 like this. Now that would show me where each part of this is. If I make lines, draw lines across this, I would see exactly what to place in each portion of the line. Now, the other thing is that we want to think about is that if you notice in this painting, I've chosen a picture that has 1/3 sky and 2/3 landscape. Here are a couple more that are examples of that. Here's 1/3 sky and 2/3 landscape. And another one, 1/3 sky and 2/3 landscape. It can also be 2/3 sky and 1/3 landscape. But you do not want to cut the picture directly in half. All right, the next part is that one of the common mistakes that you want to make sure that your picture doesn't have is that we don't have trees lined up equally distant from each other. And most of the time we will put a large tree on one side and a smaller tree on the other. Now another thing you can think about is that we never want to have a road that goes directly off the corner of the picture, or any type of painting where it goes directly off the corner. It has to come and split the corner, so you have it coming up towards the upper portion and across the horizontal bottom. All right, that is about what we're going to cover today. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to cover with you, and that is, it's called the golden mean. And the golden mean is where you divide the picture in 3 parts here, and you divide it in 3 parts here. And you never have something directly in the center, so you do not put a tree right in the very center. You can put it at any of these golden points, which are any one of the 4. And that's where your highlight and your focus should be, never in the direct center. There are volumes written on how to start a painting, but I hope some of these hints will get you going and get you excited like I am. You know, it's both a passion and a misery, so I hope you start enjoying yourself. Talk to you soon.